Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Dead Cat Puppet Show. We have a lot going on the news. Today we got our Egyptian in the street, Omar Sadiq, and we're going to talk to him. We have our representative from the Washington Bureau of International Affairs, and we're going to talk to him. We have a lot of fun happening here now. I'm sorry I'm shaking. It's because I'm cold. We're doing a morning episode of the Dead Cat Puppet Show, and as you can see, I don't have any fur, and we live in Alaska where we do our live broadcasts, and it is freezing up here. And my owners don't give me a jacket, and so they're not beating me. I'm just cold. So the first thing we want to talk about is the revolution in Freedom Square. Now, we know it's not called Freedom Square. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But that's what we're going to start calling it from now on out, because we got to give a hand to those Egyptians out there. You know, they are fighting for their freedoms. They are fighting for their rights, to maintain their own course in history, and all these other crazy yahoos are trying to get in their honey pot, and we want to support the Egyptians over there. The people have been doing it now for almost 13 days, and if there is anything that we want more on the Dead Cat Puppet Show, it's to see people get their freedoms. We don't like dictators, we don't like morons, and we don't like Mubaraks either. So, I'm not being impartial in my journalism, I'm sorry. So, first thing we're going to talk about today is we're going to interview the Washington Bureau of International Affairs, and we're going to ask them what they think is going to happen in the next couple of days in Egypt. Washington, what do you see happening over the next couple days in Egypt? Well, you know, what we want to see is a nice, easy transition to a democratic government. We don't want to have rioting in the streets. We want to see peace, and we want to see it now. Now, we don't want Mubarak to step down right now. That would create chaos in the streets. It might create riots in the square. It might make people mad. We don't want to have Mubarak step down right now. That is a bad idea. It would create chaos in the streets, and we don't want chaos in the streets. I mean, the cops might start shooting Egyptians in the heads with rubber bullets. They might start tear gassing them and running them over with their big tanks that we gave them last year. And that really wouldn't work. So what we don't want right now is for Mubarak to step down, because it would create chaos in the streets. Well, sir, don't you think there's chaos in the streets already? Well, that's not chaos. That is, those people are having a dinner party out there. I don't know what they're talking about, chaos in the streets. What we want to create is a forum of dialogue where those people can get a nice leader who can speak for them, and they need to calm down, quit throwing those Molotov cocktails. There ain't never going to be any order unless they have a leader. I mean, maybe Mubarak would be a good choice. We understand that he is not going to run in the next September elections. So he might be listening to us a little bit, but what are we supposed to do with the Washington Bureau of Foreign Affairs? Are we supposed to just stick our fingers in the Egyptian honeypot? This is crazy. What we want to see is a nice, smooth transition of power. Well, as you can see, that opinion is about as good as a dirt ball. We don't eat dirt here, and maybe Washington should eat dirt because they sound crazy. Now, our next interviewer is going to be with Omar Sadiq, straight from the streets of Egypt. And let's see what Omar thinks about all of this. Well, you know, I tell you, this is a bunch of crap. Chaos is happening. Has the Washington Bureau even been to Egypt in the last 20 days? I don't think so. I don't think so. I'll tell you what we want is we want freedom. We want the right to choose our own path in history. We want to choose our own president. We don't want a dictator anymore. This is crazy. Now, you people, get your hands out of our Egyptian honeypot. I tell you, this is just retarded. You guys got to get your head out of the sand and understand that ain't no gonna be dialogue, as long as Mubarak is in office, there is not going to be any peace until that jerk-off gets out. Well, as we can see here, there's some heated tension going on between Washington and Egypt. As I understand it, Obama is flying over to Egypt right now as we speak to have Oval Office meetings with the administration of the Egyptian government. Let's ask the Washington Bureau of Affairs what they are going to talk about when they get over there. Well, the first thing we're going to discuss is sending more military supplies over there to keep the peace. We're going to send over some of them warp sound devices that you blast at high speed over the Cairo to keep those people a little calmer. We're going to send some Prozac, boxes and boxes of Prozac, maybe some boxes of Xanax. We got the pharmaceutical companies behind us on this one. They're going to provide all of the necessary medical supplies to keep these people calm. We've already talked to Halliburton, and they are going to be providing the resources to keep peace with some tanks and some better guns that shoot them rubber bullets further. We've already talked to Mubarak several times on the telephone, and he has stated that although he won't step down because he has a big ego and he's been there for 30 years, he is going to accept some of our gifts to help keep the peace. We are trying as best we can to keep the peace in Egypt, and we want him to stay in there until the September elections, because if he steps down right now, there will be a power vacuum and people will riot in the streets. It will be chaos. Well, you just seem to be repeating the same thing over and over again, so we're not going to ask you any more questions, pal. Let's go ahead and ask Omar Sadiq what he thinks one more time. And what we really see at Omar here is maybe we have a rift of values in democracy here, and maybe one country sells it and the other one buys it, but we're not buying any of this crap right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask Omar, how do you think the United States should respond to the uprising in Egypt? Well, I have read a little bit of the American history, and I know that they uprise against the British. They uprise against the British, but they do it with the guns, and they kill the men, and they take the land, and they uprise. And now we are peaceful people. We are killing nobody. We want our rights. We want to be free. And we do not want your American freedom, because we know that means more Mubaraks. We know that means more Prozac. We know that means more Halliburton. We do not want your American freedom. We want our Egyptian freedom, and we want it now. You know, this all started because of one man who was actually put in jail because he set off on the Facebook the "We Are All Khalid" said. Now, it started with the youth on the internet, on the Facebook here, and the Facebook says, we want freedom, we don't want to be shot, we don't want your Secret Service people killing us. When we talk about the freedom, and we talk about the getting rid of the Mubarak, we are tired of the rubber bullets, we are tired of the talk, we are tired of the Mubarak, and we want our freedom. We are not going to stop until we have it. If you really want to help us, send us food so we can stay out in the streets a little bit longer until all of you people give in to our demands. Freedom, democracy. Mubarak, get your ass out of that office right now. Thank you, Omar. We appreciate that opinion. We at the Dead Cat Puppet Show support Egypt. We want to see freedom wherever it rings. We will see you next time for another episode of the Dead Cat Puppet Show. Goodbye.